Welcome, everybody, to Mindset Monday. I'm your host, Denise Zach. Thank you all so much for being here. Another wonderful Monday morning, another amazing guest that I'm super excited to talk to. I'll introduce her in just a little bit. But first, a little bit about Game Plan U and about this podcast. So this podcast is for me to get into those 6 inches in between the ears of founders, of CEOs, of investors, mentors, people who are doing amazing things in the world of technology, sports innovation, entrepreneurship. I really want to understand how people succeed because we look at people from the outside. We think everything's amazing. They're doing great. They're so successful. I want to be just like them. And we have no idea what's going on inside of their mind that helps them to be successful, that helps them to overcome challenges and to dive in headfirst every single day and not give up, because that's what being an entrepreneur is about. That's what being successful is about. And so that's what I do on this podcast. And this podcast is part of the Game Plan U community, the Game Plan U company, which is designed to bring sports innovation and technology founders together with investors, with career seekers. We help startups in the sports innovation, wellness, and technology world. We bring them in, we help validate their concept, we help with business development, we help with support, mindset, and then we get them connected with our executives and residents who are mentors, experts, investors in the field, and help our founders grow even more and potentially get investment. We also have career seekers who are these amazing students who are looking to build their resume or their portfolio, or someone who's just pivoting in their career and looking to dive into sports technology and innovation. So if you haven't heard about Game Plan U before and you want to learn a little bit more, click the subscribe button, watch this podcast on a regular basis, like it if you like the content, and check us out at gameplanu.org. With that said, I am going to bring on our guest today. She is one of our amazing executives in residence, and we're just super excited to have her be a part of our community. She's got amazing energy, amazing experience, and she is someone who just is a rock star in terms of entrepreneurship and, really just getting down to what is going to help make people successful. On top of that, she's just an awesome person and is really nice to talk to. And I'm so excited to bring on Miss Shauna Griffiths. Welcome. Thanks so much for being here.
Good morning. Thank you. I'm so excited. When I was watching your intro video, it's like I'm getting pumped for the court. I'm like, I get so excited. No, I love what you're doing. And
thank you.
I'm just so grateful to be a part of the community that you guys are building and growing. So thank you.
Yeah, no, thank you. You're part of the reason why we're growing. You know, people like you who are just doing amazing things out there and want to help other people and give back, but also really just take the time to help businesses grow is the reason why we're successful. So we owe it all to you guys, ladies and gentlemen. So you are founder and CEO of SLG Impact, but I know that's not what you've been doing your entire life. So I'd love to hear about your career journey, because everyone's career journey is unique and different. And sometimes it's, this natural cascade elevating up. And then a lot of times there's lots of bumps in the road and things that, we didn't plan for, or opportunities that helped us grow. So I'd love to hear a little bit about your journey and how you kind of got to where you are today.
Yeah, thank you so much. I appreciate the opportunity. You're so right. I think we see these people and they're almost like in this glass house, and you're like, oh, I want to be that tomorrow. And
right.
I have a dear Pam Harris that talks about layering experiences. And so I think that's a pretty good way to, think about my journey. Because I really do think that things don't happen by coincidence. And I was having one of those moments recently where I was feeling like struggling a bit. And I was thinking about how every step along the way has actually prepared me for the moment that I'm at now. And so, I share that with you as I start to tell you my story. And I've had more than 20 years in the sports and entertainment and agency side. I started my career working with Nike and the WNBA, so two different teams during the start of the league and the team's first 2 years. So at the time it was the Detroit Shock and the Seattle Storm. And then from there went on to help start the NBDL, which is now the G League in the NBA family. And then I spent several years at the Nets that are now the Brooklyn Nets. At the time, it was the New Jersey Nets in the not so sexy swamps of East Rutherford, New Jersey. And then, I purposely pivoted. I had sat in the marketing seat and done some of the other areas, including partnerships. But I purposely made a shift in my career because I always had this desire to be as valuable of a marketer, as a resource as I could grow myself. So I decided that the quickest way to do that was to go to the agency side, which was a bit challenging because I was in my early 30s trying to crack my way into the agency world, which is usually you get in early. It's kind of like sports. You get in early and you kind of exist in that space. So I did that for about 9.5 years. And then COVID changed my reality because the agency I was working for was highly experiential, sports entertainment centric. And we all know what happened last year when COVID came upon us. And so, that was really when I think it's a great topic of mindset because at the time I got a call on a Sunday night and was just legs cut out from under me overnight. And it was like, whoa, during a time when it was the height of the pandemic, the height of unemployment, historic levels. And I quite frankly spent about 3 days feeling pretty upset and angry and hurt and sad. And then I was like, wait a second, I can't even stand myself. I had to switch into a different gear. And I think I pull on my athletic background. I didn't mention this, but I played basketball at the University of Michigan in undergrad and ran cross country for my 5th year of eligibility at Eastern Michigan when I got my MBA. And I say that just because I think a lot of my mindset comes from my athletic background. And so when this happened, I was like, wait a second, I need to do something when the COVID reality happened. I need something different to stand out. And I created these almost filters, I'll call it, for myself, where I was like, okay, whatever decisions I'm going to make during this time, can I continue to make an impact? Can I continue to build my network, continue to grow and learn? And then hopefully somewhere along the way, make some money.
Right.
So I created SLG Impact, really focused on my sweet spot areas. And so coaching and mentoring has been a bit of my calling card my entire career, and marketing and partnerships. So that's the evolution of SLG Impact. And I've been able to work with some incredible clients. Super proud of the social justice platform we created for the Detroit Pistons during a time when it was, never more important to use your voice and help evolve brands and people. And several others. And then most recently have been super honored to work with an agency out of Portland, Oregon called CMD. And so, I'm continuing to grow my relationship with them, and we'll have some exciting announcements to come pretty soon.
Which is awesome. And what a varied road, but all connected. You know what I mean? It's right. It wasn't random, 180-degree pivots. It was kind of, all right, this happened. I'm staying kind of in this lane. I've made some connections. Yeah. I've got some contacts. And I think that that's so important for people. I used to work with college students, and they would be at the brink of their graduation and a complete mess, saying, what am I going to do with the rest of my life? And I said, the rest of your life, just figure out the next 3 months, right? Just make a plan, because I really love what you said before. You don't know, what exactly is going to happen down the road. So it's really important to kind of be open to opportunities and to really think critically. So could you tell us a little bit about how you think your kind of training and your coaching as an athlete impacted kind of how you show up to your day now?
Yeah, there's a couple things, and I actually do think about this topic quite often. So I was actually thinking about it this weekend when I was mountain biking with my husband. There's this thing about mindset that I think is just like, there is no option for me to just quit. And that comes a little bit like when you're on the court. I thought of this analogy, is what I thought over the weekend. Is like say I was, got the ball ripped from me. I like I said, I play basketball. If I got
Yeah.
the ball ripped from me, if I missed my shot, and I learned this the hard way, if I stopped and lamented about it or threw a fit, threw a tantrum, or just was like, then the other team was going to pick up that ball and go do something with it, score something. And then what? So then my reaction to pause and quit in that moment actually had a negative impact on me and my team and what we were trying to do at the time, which is to win the game. And so I think that, I played basketball from the time I was 10 years old on up in several other sports. And so I had enough experiences as I was growing as a human being playing where I did put my head down, grumble about something, and then all those things happen where like I looked bad, my team got hurt in it. And that's the same thing where I take it to business. If I'm going to be upset, say we lose a pitch or I made a mistake or something like there is a time to learn from it, but it's also like if you miss that opportunity to just react in a different way, then everybody around you is going to get a negative impact. So I think that's a big thing. I think also, I think I got this from sports, but I had several very stern, we'll call them coaches. And one of them in particular in college, she would literally say, you have to earn the right to come back to the team every day. That's how her philosophy was about practice. And so, oh my God, every practice to me was like a game. And so I that same mindset to work. I feel like myself and my people that I'm leading, we all have to earn the right to come back to our jobs. That doesn't mean that we don't make mistakes. That just is a fighter mindset. That's a mindset of wanting to come and make an impact every day. And that's small and sometimes that's big and sometimes that's relevant. It's a reflection of your capacity every day. So every single day, I'm not going to have the same capacity.
Right.
Big difference between mailing it in and actually being there to make a difference every day. Yeah. So again, you can see like those are totally parallels to what you would do as an athlete, what you do in business. And, again, like my foundation as an athlete started when I was 10. So
yeah, I love it. And so it's critical too. And you see the difference, you can see the difference. And especially when you watch a young athlete when they don't have that mindset yet, and it's them kind of giving up or just wanting to kind of roll over and curl up in a ball, right? And then you see as they progress throughout the years, if they've got the right coaching and they practice every single day, showing up, right, making a mistake and learning from it and growing. Right, it's a difference between rumination, right, and then responding, right?
It's so true. And I think there's another element of it just came to me when you were talking is about, as an athlete, I learned about the importance of roles. And, there was a time where I was the worst person on the team. There was a time when I was the best person on the team. And there was a time when I was a captain. And, so I think that as you go about your athletic career, there's a lot of us, and there are some of the Michael Jordans of the world that were always but I think that there, at least for me, I understood about coaching, about the importance of being coachable, about learning, about, improving and going through different roles. And then when I was playing in college, I had a very distinct role. I was there, a large part of it. I did get some playing time, but a large part of it was to make my teammates better in practice so that they could be the ones that were out there, playing more minutes and things. And so again, I think like in business, a lot of times we all have, we go through times where we realize that we go through different stages of our career to get to the next level. I knew I wanted to add to my toolbox partnership, so I was more valuable on top of being a marketer. So I had to go play that role to get that experience. So, again, I think there's the parallels are just, they could keep coming, but I think it's a really important one.
Absolutely. And there's something about that role that lends itself to perspective, right? Because
Yeah.
you had to take a step back from yourself to even become aware of where you
Yeah.
were in that moment. Am I the best person? And and am I the worst person? And wherever I am, what do I need to do now in order to maintain it or to change it? Right. And
Yeah.
I think a lot of times people just kind of keep going. They're on a hamster wheel and they're
Yeah.
not necessarily giving the attention they need to their process, right? It's not
Yeah.
just about your content, it's about how you're showing up and the perspective that you have. And the best way to do that, I mean, I'm a little bit biased because I practice mindset and mindfulness, but
Yeah.
really, when you get feedback from someone else, it means something. But if you
Yeah.
learn to be that person for yourself, because there's not always going to be someone there, number one, who cares enough, number one, who's astute enough, or number three, who is supportive enough of you
Yeah.
to do it. So you have to learn how to do it yourself. And
It's so true.
yeah, so I feel like a lot of what you're talking about is perspective, which to me is a invaluable tool and asset to have.
Yeah. Yeah.
So so let me ask you this: you you were an athlete in college, and then you worked. You said with the WNBA that you worked with for a while, or worked for, at a time when the WNBA was not as popular as or celebrated as it
No.
is now.
Yeah.
What was that like? I mean, because to be in an underdog position or being a kind of fighting just to get some attention position, you've got to you've got to have a pretty strong mindset to be there. And tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, it was really interesting, and it's ironic because I think back to it. I was actually working for Nike, but what they would do is place people with WNBA teams during the WNBA seasons. But that's a really great example of how the Nike partnership with the WNBA was in part really helping to like this halo effect and like help just because obviously like how Nike's always been like cool and the leader and things like that. So to
Yeah.
have them helping to shepherd the league and the teams, I think part of the method to the madness was that, again, that halo effect. So, but I actually, my role was very much being the eyes and ears of Nike in the market for the team and the Nike athletes. And so, I think that because of that, I was a little bit almost like kind of riding that Nike coattail. But I
Yeah.
did the marketplace and run like things for the kids or be out in the community. And, and it was funny because people would be like, are you on the team? Those women would eat me alive,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
before.
So funny.
Um, but it was just not even, it wasn't anywhere on people's radars, and it wasn't real. I mean, we would go into games and we'd have to have the like skirting and, to cover off because of TV visibility, and you want to cover off empty seats. And when you're in these massive NBA arenas, that's very challenging. And so, I just think when you're in that stage of starting a league or a team, you just know that you're going to take your licks, but you just got to keep coming every day to build the community, to tell people what you're doing, leverage relationships. So, I mean, it was, I think it was definitely challenging.
Yeah.
At the same time, I think that I was almost, because I lived and breathed basketball, I was like in this world thinking everybody knew what was going on in basketball,
Yeah.
so I don't even think at the time it really dawned on me how new and almost like obscure it was. So the league is, I think it's their 20th anniversary this year. So, I mean, that was quite a while ago. And so, again, at the time, wasn't even on people's radars, I don't think. It's incredible to see how much it's grown. And like now when I see the men supporting the women and the WNBA orange hoodie last year, and
Yeah.
I get so excited.
Yeah. Yeah, no, it's great to see. And there's something about ignorance is bliss. If you're just kind of
Yeah.
going full force, like this is great, everybody knows. But to look back and reflect on it, you have
Yeah.
again that perspective of wow, it was tough. There were a lot
Yeah.
of things that, but people just push through. And I think that there's a
That's
lot
the
to be said
thing.
for that. And just having the support of Nike, like you said, kind of
Mhm.
leveraging those relationships and those opportunities to build and grow is also incredibly important. So, um, you know, has there ever been a time in your life where you felt like, I don't know if I'm going to make it through this, or this is really tough. And, whatever you're comfortable sharing, but I
Yeah,
feel like it's so important, not maybe as an athlete, maybe as a professional, but also maybe personally.
yeah.
We've all got those things that sometimes stop us in our tracks. And I like to talk with people about, what that could have been for you and how you kept going, because you kept going and you didn't give
It
up.
is really true, and I'm probably transparent to a fault. um, I actually my and I don't, doesn't mean like, oh, boo-hoo sob story, but I think my upbringing was constant change and quite a bit of trauma. Since I was like, I think my parents, there was probably like 6 different marriages and divorces between my parents and spouses. And so, that started when I was 1 year old. So I think that it just, when I say it, because what it did was establish change is inevitable. And, there was a lot of change of people who were in pretty important roles in my development. And so I had to find things that I really help fulfill me. And I learned a lot about what I don't want to do and what I don't want to be by seeing the people who were involved in my life as I grew up. But I think those things they're not easy. And, I think that they really, in the face of it all, I think that's where I got my, like, I'm a fighter. And recently I've gone through some change, but for the positive. But I actually, even the stuff that happened with me last year with COVID, I found myself recently saying to my sister, she and I are very, very close. She's 3 years older than me, but we went through all that together. And I said to her, times like me losing my job at the height of COVID and having to figure out my way, I'm actually so grateful that I had all of that happened to me from the age of 1 on up. Because it actually taught me to fight, and it taught me how to find a way, and that somebody else isn't always going to save me or figure it out for me. And so, I look back at my journey and these key moments, I had to figure it out myself. And that doesn't mean that I didn't have positive people. I've had tremendous mentors. I've been fortunate to have some of them on the podcast that I have, the content series, to give back, to pay back. But I think that, again, it's calling upon myself in those times and the challenges to get through and to fight and find my way, and calling upon those little nuggets that I learned from people who I just gravitated towards. So that's a little bit of, I think, where it comes from.
Yeah, absolutely. And having that insight, again, that perspective is so important, because we all go through stuff. I mean, everybody's got their stuff. And the most important piece of it is to own it, because it's there for good, bad, or indifferent. And it also contributes to how our brain develops over time, right? Your brain operates in a particular way because of the experiences that you had as a child growing up. And it makes us have these kind of glasses in how we look at the world. And so you could have taken that in another direction, right? I mean,
Yeah.
literally, right?
Yeah.
Because you saw a lot of what you didn't like, and learned about, you said the person that you don't want to be, and you were able to take that and grow. And some people kind of follow in the footsteps of and recreate the same chaos, right? Or the
Yeah.
same challenges. And
Great. Yeah. Yeah. It's so true. And I think that this comes to me a lot too, because I do think back sometimes about what are these little key moments that made such an impact on me. And so Tony Robbins is quite controversial at times for people now, but at the time when I was like not even maybe around 10 years old, my mom started working with him, and I started going to his seminars. I'm literally like 10 years old walking on coals, and anyway, but I think that kind of thing early, just all the chaos, as it was a great word, all the stuff that was going on in my family life, I think that I had these things that came in that helped me see this like sense of strength in myself. And that was the first time when I was like, whoa, the power of the mind. I sat so many of his seminars and experienced the firewalking so many different times. And at the time, my dad thought it was a cult and all this stuff. But, it just like, again, like all these experiences happen for a reason, and like, I remember the first time I was out my mom had a birthday party, and this, who became my coach, Alonzo Littlejohn, he like just rolled out a ball and was like, have you ever played basketball? I'd never played before. And just that moment, him expressing interest in me. And it was the first time that I got to that type of experience of that like mentor. So all these little things, again, I talked about it earlier, like we're layering experiences with, I think about that for my career. But when I look back on what sort of helped pave the path for my mind to work as it does, and my sense of resilience, it's like all those little things were like steps in the ladder, so to say.
Absolutely. I think that's so important. And I love the layering of experiences, right? Because it really does kind of go along with that one interaction that you had with that particular basketball coach that said, hey, have you ever played? That sparked something that pivoted you just the tiniest bit to walk down another path, which led to so many different opportunities, and you in the sports world, really, right? And Tony Robbins, I know that he can be controversial, but his whole thing is about strength of mindset. End of story. And he wants you to get yourself in alignment and not hold yourself back and not tell yourself a negative story and not believe the negativity that sometimes filters in, those little gremlins, I call them, that are inside our head that want to convince us that we shouldn't take that chance, or that we aren't good enough, or that we'll never succeed. And so I think you've had some really good training on both ends, right? Training that in a negative way, but that helped you identify your strength, but also in a positive way. And you used all of it, which is amazing. You used all of it, and you're aware of it, and you have kind of folded it all into who you are, which I think is why you're probably such a holistic and person when I've spoken with you. Anytime I've heard you speak, or the conversations that we've had, you've got this really wide range of, let's look at this from a lot of different angles, because all of it matters.
It's so right. And you talked earlier about practice, and it is a practice. Like we don't arrive at this place and just, okay, then just stop, and it is constant growth. And when I say like, oh, I was thinking about this while we were biking this weekend, it's just that's even practice. It's like kind of understanding where things come from, why I'm operating a certain way. It's not always about, okay, well, just now I've arrived this way and now I'm looking at everybody else, and sort of thinking, evaluating or being aware of what everyone else is doing. It's like, no, it is a daily practice of understanding, well, wait, am I holding myself back by not doing that? What's in this decision bigger, than just like this, a yes or a no? And so it's a daily practice to stay and it's in this lane, and it's not always easy. Sometimes some days are harder than others. For moments we're like, what the hell am I doing?
Right. When the gremlins are full force, right?
Gremlins on all sides.
Right. You know what I think is really important too, and it's something that I talk a lot about with people, is when you're in that flow of exercise. You're there. Okay. I lost you for a second. Hopefully you're still there. Okay. When you're in that flow of working out or doing something where you have to concentrate really intently, like when you're mountain biking, I've seen some of those pictures on LinkedIn, and you're like literally in the mountains. Like for me, I'd be on the side of a path, and thinking I'm doing these amazing things, but you're literally on the edge of a cliff, and you've got to focus. There is no room for distraction. There is no room to let anything that has nothing to do with that moment get in your way. And when people are in that space, it actually activates a part of the brain that is responsible for logical thinking, like good, better, and best decision making. And that's why coaches want athletes to practice being in that state, that flow. And I think that that's why people solve problems too, when they're doing those things, right? When you're like, oh, I was mountain biking and this came up. Well, it probably came up because you activated a part of your brain that's like, I can figure this out,
Such a great point. I do get some of my best thoughts or new ideas and stuff when I'm out there. You're right. It does take this focus in the moment, and it's also interesting, again, kind of that like on the bike, off the bike parallel.
Yeah.
In the moment, if I'm like not paying attention to a technical feature or something like that, and my brain is off here, or my mind is kind of like chundering about negativity or something, I'll fall, crash, whatever the thing is. And so it's like, okay, you really do. There's no time for that, And so that's another, again, like a really great practice for being able to like hone in on something, solve it, and keep going.
Absolutely. And taking that metaphor into your work and into your life, into your relationships. If you're distracted and you're not focused, you're not paying attention to the important stuff, you will crash and burn, literally, right? Figuratively, right?
Yes. I have a lot of those experiences.
We all do, right? We all do. I love it. Oh gosh. All right. So if people want to get in touch with you, I've watched this content series. It's really awesome. I love what you're doing with it, but it's Real Talk content series powered by CMD. And people can find the links to it on your website, slgimpact.com, right?
Yep.
Awesome.
Yep,
And
absolutely.
they want to get in touch with you, they can contact you on LinkedIn as well, connect with you there, follow you there, however they want to. Any last words of advice? I like to ask this of people who are on my podcast. Someone thinks they have the next greatest idea. They want to start their business, but they don't know what to do first. What advice would you give them?
I think it's just, I have this magnet that I keep on my refrigerator, and it says something to the effect of like, sometimes you have to just jump and build your wings on the way down. And so I think it's that I would encourage people to look past like the analysis paralysis and everything has to be perfect. Like, people talk about a viable product for a reason. Get a viable product going and then improve it as you're going along. Every day is improvement of your product. It's a journey. I think the more we look at it as a journey, because I think sometimes we're like, wait, is everything perfect? Do I have a perfect business plan? You know what? Just get a good idea, vet it with some people, and then go. Sometimes, because then we can almost hold ourselves back by making sure everything is perfect before it launches. And the way the world is working, we all are going to have to continue to evolve ourselves in whatever it is that we're working on. So that's the biggest thing I would say is get a viable product and get going and improve it once you're out with it.
Awesome. Perfect advice. Just take that step, right? Just get in. Rob, Mike, and I say all the time, we're building the plane as we're flying it, right?
Yes!
It's like we don't know where we're going to land, but let's get that next piece in place so we're more secure, right?
Exactly.
Love it. Well, Shauna, thank you so much for being here. I greatly appreciate you taking the time to come on with the Game Plan You today, Mindset Monday podcast. And I look forward to our continued partnerships and meetings and discussions that we have with our founders. It's going to be a great year. I'm really looking forward to it. So thank you. Thanks again for being here. And for those of you who enjoyed this, please click the subscribe button, click the like button. And if you want to get in touch with me, Denise at gameplanu.org, or again, you can go to gameplanu.org and find out more about us and what we do. Until next time, have a great week, everybody, and get your mind in the right place. Take care.
Thank you.